Thank you very much for being here. This year marks the 5th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative. This morning, President Xi Jinping has participated in the seminar on the 5th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative. Over the past 5 years, since the Belt and Road Initiative was put forward, it has won wide range of recognition from the international community. Since the beginning and over the past 5 years, we have made tremendous progress. First, we have enhanced mutual trust. We followed the principle of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and joint benefit. And this has also been included in the documents of the United Nations. We have signed a total of 118 cooperation agreements in 2017. The first international summit on cooperation under the Belt and Road Initiative was successfully held in Beijing. We have attracted 29 heads of states and more than 1,600 representatives from 140 countries and 80 international organizations. We have reached 279 outcomes at the forum, among which 265 of them have been translated into reality. 14 of them are currently underway, and the overall implementation rate has reached 95%. Second, we have staged and focused on important projects, and we have altogether 6 corridors, 6 roads, and a number of ports and harbors. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor program is well underway. The China-Laos, China-Thailand, and Hungary-Serbia railway are also well underway. The port of Gwadar is now put into operation. Yesterday, on August 26th, China-European Express train have had a total of more than 10,000 operations. This line is reaching 15 countries in Europe, touching 43 cities. Third, we have enhanced cooperation and realized win-win and shared growth. As of August 2018, the total trade in goods between China and Belt and Road countries exceeded $5 trillion. Total foreign direct investments exceeded $75 billion. And we have a total investment of $28.9 billion in 82 foreign economic and trade cooperation zones. And these have altogether created 244,000 job opportunities and more than $2 billion of tax revenue. China is working together with a lot of major countries and companies in imploring the third-party cooperation under the framework of Belt and Road Initiative. And number 4, we have improved the service system. China has worked together with 17 countries and have confirmed the Belt and Road financing guiding principles. Altogether, we have 11 Chinese banks, which set up 71 Grade 1 subsidiaries. We are working together with the African Development Bank, Pan-American Development Bank, European Development Bank, and a number of other banks. And we have also set up the Belt and Road International Arbitration Mechanism. for commercial disputes. And number 5, we adhered to the principle of tolerance and inclusive development, and we are committed to enhancing cultural communications. We have formulated a number of standards and specifications in the fields of education, science and technology, finance, energy, agriculture, and quarantine and inspection. We also set up scholarship programs in some of the Belt and Road Initiative countries in 2017. A total of 317.2 thousand people from Belt and Road countries studied in China. It is estimated that by 2020, the total number of travelers between China and Belt and Road countries may exceed 85 million people, and the total revenue brought by tourism may exceed $110 billion. The practice over the past 5 years indicates that cooperation and development represent the trend of the whole world. And these remarkable achievements are a result of the strong leadership demonstrated by the central government, the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, with President Xi Jinping as the core. This is also the result of coordinated cooperation between relevant stakeholders. We must also be mindful that there are some issues and elements of uncertainty in today's economic development landscape. The initiative of the Belt and Road is also facing tremendous amount of risks. Some countries remain skeptical towards the Belt and Road initiative, and the Chinese companies investing and operating overseas are also facing some problems. So we must take a very objective and reasonable attitude towards the achievements as well as the risks and difficulties on our journey ahead. We should not avoid risks and we should not avoid problems, but also we should not exaggerate them. We have to constantly improve the way we work and we solve problems. We have to also constantly upgrade the mechanism for international cooperation so that we can travel this journey in a more stable way. Under the new circumstances, the Chinese government will remain committed to the principles of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits, and we will adhere to high standard and high quality, and to make further progress with the Belt and Road Initiative. First, we are going to further strengthen external coordination so that this Belt and Road will be built into the Belt and Road for Peace. And second, we will enhance win-win cooperation and strengthen and elevate our cooperation. And number 3, we are going to adhere to the principle of openness and expand our economic and trade cooperation so that the Belt and Road will become a road and belt of openness. And number 4, we're going to enhance construction of mechanisms. We're going to expand the areas of technical cooperation. And number 5, we're going to strengthen people-to-people exchanges. And we will strengthen the friendly cooperation between different peoples and improve the soft power of culture. Dear friends from the media, you are all the witnesses of the Belt and Road Initiative. Looking back to the past 5 years, we are only more confident with the achievements that we have so far made. I would like to, at the very end of this introduction, to quote a poem from the famous poet from Qing Dynasty, Mr. Zheng Banqiao. The name of the poem is called Bamboo. We need to stay committed to where we started, and we need to fight against all those difficulties, no matter what they are. So in this new time, we remain committed and we are confident in our journey ahead. Now let's give the floor to Mr. Qian Keming. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Over the past 5 years, since the Belt and Road Initiative was put forward, we have been implementing the guidelines put forward by the central government of China, and we have so far made great achievements. And these achievements can be demonstrated in 5 aspects. Number 1, we have dramatically expanded our trade. We have been enhancing the openness of our markets. We have been optimizing the trade structure and cultivating new growth points for trade. We are also committed to further opening our trade. Over the past 5 years, the trade volume between China and those countries have exceeded $5 trillion with an annual growth rate of more than 1%. And this is an achievement made against the downward trend of the global economy. China has become the largest trading partner for 25 countries under the Belt and Road Initiative. And number 2, we have constantly enhanced our service. And we encourage Chinese enterprises to go abroad and invest in those neighboring countries. Over the past 5 years, direct investment of Chinese companies have made a total of more than $80 billion of investment. Total contracted volume have exceeded $500 billion with an annual growth rate of 19.2%. And at the same time, we have been relaxing our entry standard, and we are also attracting foreign investments. And number 3, we have executed some big and major projects. We are working with relevant stakeholders to transform some infrastructure projects into reality. For example, we have kickstarted the China-Thailand Railway and the second phase of Gwadar port in Pakistan, and the transportation infrastructure between China and Thailand and Vietnam are well underway. And number 4, we are making steady progress with the economic and trade zones. We are working with relevant countries in building economic and trade zones. Over the past 5 years, Chinese enterprises have built a total of 82 special economic zones with a total investment of more than $20 billion. Those industrial parks have attracted roughly 4,000 enterprises. Total tax contribution exceeded $2 billion. And those projects have created more than 244,000 jobs for those countries. And number 5, we have expanded the free trade network. We encourage neighboring countries to also build free trade zones, and we have implemented 5 free trade agreements with those countries. And number 6, we are promoting the high standard of free trade. We have signed the Economic and Trade Cooperation Agreement with Eurasia Alliance, and with Russia, we have jointly implemented some programs as well. What is worth noting is that we have actively hosted the China Foreign Investment Exhibition. So far, this exhibition has attracted more than 2,800 enterprises, and those enterprises, they have confirmed their attendance to this exhibition. Thank you very much, Mr. Qian, and now let's give the floor to the assistant to the Foreign Minister of China. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to quickly add a few points. Looking back over the past 5 years, we have every reason to feel proud about the achievements that we have so far made. And the Belt and Road Initiative put forward by President Xi Jinping has embodied the good wishes for a better life of all the countries. And this initiative is also aligning to the realistic needs of countering against the impact from the international financial crisis. And this initiative has also demonstrated the great responsibility shouldered by the Chinese government and over the past 5 years. And this initiative has taken roots in the hearts of peoples across many countries. And reality has shown that this initiative is a correct path that is in line with people's needs and in line with the development directions of many countries. And looking into the future, we are only more confident in our steps ahead. And this is because we are marching towards the right direction. We are following the principle of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits. And these principles are in the interest of all the countries in the world. And our confidence comes from not just theory, but also reality. We have plans, we have mechanisms, we have actions, and we also have the wide range of support and participation of the international community. I believe that with all these supports, we will travel a very successful journey. Our confidence in the Belt and Road Initiative also comes from the strong support from the international community. As you know, that the Chinese economy is making a transformation from high growth to high quality growth, and this will only add more impetus to the Belt and Road Initiative. The third point I would like to make is that to achieve even greater results, we will need the support of all the stakeholders. President Xi Jinping has reiterated that the Belt and Road comes from China, but it hinges upon the great support and participation of the whole world. And we will follow the people-oriented approach, and we will focus on economic construction, and we will remain committed to creating more economic opportunities and bringing more benefits to all the peoples in the world. And we will align our policies, and we will coordinate with one another, and we will embrace the concepts of open and inclusive development. We welcome all the countries to be part of the initiative. We are not targeting at one party, and we are not excluding any party. And we sincerely hope that all the parties can become part of this initiative. And we also adhere to the principle of high quality and high standard. We follow the laws and regulations of relevant countries, and we protect a multilateral system that is based on the regulations of each and every country. And we sincerely hope that we can join hands with all the friends from the media so that we can jointly witness every glorious moment of the Belt and Road Initiative, so that we can tell the very good and positive story of the initiative and showcase the glorious future of this initiative. Thank you very much. And now the floor is open for questions. May I give the mic to the gentleman on a third row? Thank you very much. I'm with China Central Television. My question goes to Director Ning. The Belt and Road Initiative has made tremendous amount of achievements, but also it's carrying a lot of expectations of many countries. For example, our neighboring countries, they wish to harvest more opportunities from this journey. So my question is, how will China share the economic development opportunities with its neighbors? Thank you very much. This is a very important question. I'd like to answer this question from three aspects. The Chinese economy is already the second largest one in the whole world. China's economic development has contributed more than 30% to world economy. The principle of joint contribution, extensive consultation, and shared benefits is one supporting the sharing of opportunities between various countries. So to answer your question briefly, number one, over the past 5 years, China has worked with relevant countries to transform crises into opportunities, and we have significantly promoted the world economic recovery. As you might know, that 10 years ago, the international financial crisis broke out, and 5 years ago, the impact of the international financial crisis was still taking place. So 5 years ago, China put forward the Belt and Road Initiative, and we started to work together with relevant countries to improve our economy and to improve the living standards of relevant countries. And this initiative has played a very positive and significant role. And to give you just one example, 5 years ago, Central Asian countries such as Kazakhstan, they were at a time of significant influence and impact from the international financial crisis. Through aligning their economic development efforts with the Belt and Road Initiative, these countries have embraced tremendous amounts of opportunities, and that is why in recent years, Kazakhstan has achieved great success in its economic development, and it has also stabilized its finance. Chinese enterprises also expanded their market shares in Kazakhstan, and this is only one example. The same goes true to China and some Southeast Asian countries. In recent years, because of the in-depth cooperation of free trade zones between China and Southeast Asian countries, and because of the Belt and Road Initiative, you may notice that most of the countries in Southeast Asia have registered an economic growth of 5 to 7% annually, and this is the most dynamic region in terms of economic development in the whole world. Number two, the Belt and Road Initiative has empowered China to dramatically improve the mutual trade and mutual investment between China and relevant countries. And just now, Minister Qian shared with you some of this data. He also shared with you some growth momentums. The multilateral trade between China and those countries have exceeded $5 trillion, and this is a lot faster than China's trade with other regions, and also faster than bilateral trade volumes in other regions in the world. So there is investment from China to those countries, and also investment from those countries to China. And I believe this is also on the rise. Investment and trade have generated flows of personnel, and with this flow of personnel and goods, there is tremendous amount of opportunities. And number 3, the Belt and Road Initiative is a great success because we are complementary to each other, and we can also share our competitive edges. As you know that among all countries participating in the Belt and Road Initiatives, there are developed countries, developing countries, as well as least developed countries. Each and every country has their own competitive edges, such as in capital, technology, or in labor, or in market. The Belt and Road Initiative has provided an opportunity for those countries to come together and share their competitive edges and also share economic development opportunities. For China, we have advantages in some traditional productivity elements, but we are also formulating new advantages such as in capital and in management. Developing countries have the advantages in markets and in resources, but developed countries, they are better at management and technologies. So this is not just bilateral development, bilateral cooperation. This is multilateral cooperation which can unite the strengths and advantages of all the sides, and that is why it can trigger the improvement of people's livelihood.
谢谢新加坡联合早报的记者。刚才你们提到了，就是中国对外这些投资在“一带一路”的沿线。
I'm from 联合早报 from Singapore.
我想问的就是，
So you just mentioned China has a total of more than 70 billion yuan of foreign development in those countries, and some are wondering that this is an investment that may not harvest its returns. So I'm asking the question, what are the investments yield? Has the return been satisfactory? And also my second question is about the contribution of these other countries. And most of these projects are supported by loans. And some of the countries, they may not have the capacity to repay the loan. For example, everybody's talking about the railway project in Malaysia, and the project may run into some problem with the new president coming to office. So what are the experience the Chinese government summarizes from those lessons, and will that help change the way we cooperate with other countries? So it's a lot of questions. So let me first address the issue of loan and debt. Capital is like the blood of economic development. In particular, at the emerging period, capital is a necessity. It is a very necessary element. I have read some reports. One of them comes from the Asian Development Bank. It has a report says that in the next few years, each and every year, Asian countries require a infrastructure investment of $1.7 trillion, but only $800 billion are available for those countries. So there is still a large gap for the investment in infrastructure. And there is also a report about Africa. It says that in the next few years, each and every year, there is the need of $130 to $170 billion of investment in infrastructure, but only 1/3 is available. So for investment in infrastructure is very crucial to economic development, and it can drive the economy forward, and it can also change and improve people's living conditions. And second, most of the projects under the Belt and Initiative are about infrastructure. This is substantial investments. We are not squandering money. The money is used to build railways, is used to build highways, and I believe that this investment is of great significance to the economic development of those countries. And third, for investment in the infrastructure area, it requires a long term for you to recoup your investment. And it's a very positive investment, but it takes some time for you to recoup your investment. Since the international financial crisis, the price of large commodities is picking up. To give you just one example, at the peak time, 1 barrel of oil is 150 yuan, $15. But then it was reduced to $30 to $40. But now it's picking up to $70 per barrel. And it's only claiming half of its traditional price. But the price for other commodities hasn't picked up that significantly. So that is what making the debt burden of some countries significant. So we have to admit the reality. Some of the countries, they are having a larger debt, but this may be partially due to the sluggish price of commodities. And number 4, the Chinese government is very careful in striking a balance of improving those countries' economy while not causing a burden. So that is why we would always select some projects that may have a very good economic benefit that can also contribute some tax returns to the local government. And also, as Minister Ning has mentioned, we have to strengthen bilateral, multilateral cooperations, and we welcome some developed countries and some multilateral financial organizations to come together and improve the efficiency of the utilization of capital. The gentleman in a third row.
I am from Iran News Agency. I have a question. As you know, Iran is one of the most important countries on the Old Silk Road and One Belt, One Road project. What is China's plans to work with Iran in this framework? Thank you so much.
下午好，我来自伊朗通讯社。我有一个问题，关于伊朗和中国的合作。伊朗是“一带一路”沿线上最重要的国家之一，请问中方计划如何同伊朗在“一带一路”的框架下展开合作？谢谢。
谢谢，谢谢你的提问，更谢谢你所反映出的伊朗对“一带一路”建设所展示出的积极的态度。那么我相信呢，
Thank you very much
你也知道
for your question.
一带一路
And I would also like to thank Iran for the very positive attitude it has demonstrated.
面向全球的
The Belt and Road Initiative focuses on the Euro-Asia continent, but also it's open for all the partners in the whole world. Throughout history, Iran has been part of the very important knots on the ancient Silk Road. Iran has played a very significant role in enhancing the economic and trade cooperation between China and the Western civilization. With the continuous progress of the Belt and Road Initiative, China has engaged in a wide range of cooperation with Iran in terms of economic construction, trade cooperation, as well as people-to-people exchanges. And we share a lot of opportunities, which is undeniable. Under the joint guidance of leaders from both countries, China is now maintaining a healthy and stable diplomatic relations with Iran. The two countries have reached some major consensus evolving on the framework of the Belt and Road Initiative. And we must also be mindful that there are some realistic and potential challenges in our way forward. We have to advance our cooperation in a steady manner, and also we have to work together with the international community so as to jointly create a favorable international environment for continuous economic cooperation between our two countries. Thank you. The lady from the fourth row. Thank you. I'm from Economic Daily. My question goes to Minister Ning. Some countries have expressed interest in participating the initiative through third parties and through third market. So what is your comment on this? So three-party cooperation is very important. And first, the third-party market cooperation is a very important and effective model for international cooperation. It also reflects the principle of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits. So it is conducive to Chinese enterprises as well as foreign enterprises to engage in very substantial cooperation and supplement their strengths and inject more momentum to international cooperation. So we can actually realize an effect where 1 + 1 is larger than 2. And second, China has signed a number of agreements with some countries in promoting third-party market cooperation. Over the years, China has followed the principle of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits. We have increased our openness, and we have engaged in cooperation with some countries, such as Canada, France, Japan, the European Union, and some other countries through third-party market cooperation. And we have signed some documents about third-party market cooperation with those countries. And we have also jointly established some fund with some countries. For example, the Silk Road Fund has signed an agreement with the European Development Bank regarding third-party market cooperation. China National Investment Corporation has also jointly set up a fund with its counterparts in France, and these achievements are jointly made under some shared consensus. And we have already seen some early results of such kind of cooperation, and this will also expand to some more projects through our third-party market cooperation with the European Union. We have also secured some projects. In the meantime, for example, CRRC is working together with Siemens, which is a German company. And these two corporations have reached agreements regarding third-party market cooperation. And when our premier was visiting Japan, the NDRC, China's MOFCOM, jointly signed an agreement with Japan's Foreign Economic Development Ministry. And we have jointly signed a memorandum in order to further implement the consensus between the leaders of both countries. I think it was in last month. In Thailand, we jointly organized a China-Thailand-Japan seminar. Basically, we have reached the agreement to jointly build the Thailand Economic Corridor, and the Thailand Corporation and the City Corporation and a Japanese enterprise, they will come together and jointly bid for a infrastructure projects. And there are other projects. I won't list them one by one. We have developed countries such as the Great Britain and also some emerging economies. They have expressed very strong interest in participating through third-party market cooperation. China also has very strong interest in expanding third-party market cooperation, as this is not just conducive to China, but also to all the world. This is in particular very conducive to new emerging economies and also to countries which are accommodating those projects. And third, in the next step, China is willing to work together with relevant countries and relevant enterprises to jointly expand the scope of third-party market cooperation, and we would continue following the principle of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits. And we would bring innovation to the way we cooperate, and we support many different formats, such as joint bidding and joint development, so that we can supplement each other's strengths and achieve shared growth. Thank you. The lady from the first row, please. Thank you. My question goes to Minister Zhang. The Beijing Summit for China-Africa Cooperation is about to take place, and some are saying that Africa is the best example for China's cooperation under the Belt and Road Initiative. What do you think are the challenges confronting China's cooperation with Africa? Well, this is a very important question. The Belt and Road Initiative is mainly targeting the Eurasia continent, but also the African continent is also a very major field or region for our cooperation. As a major representative of developing countries, as a continent accommodating a lot of developing countries, Africa confronts the task of economic development. Supporting and helping Africa to achieve peace, development, and prosperity has long been a focus of China's diplomatic efforts. For a very long time, China has made a lot of investments in Africa, and these investments have achieved great results. Since the China-Africa Cooperation Forum was started, we have continued our efforts helping Africa to further develop. And one of the most important contents of this forum is to add more momentums to such cooperation. As you know, that China will organize a summit of forum on China-Africa cooperation in Beijing, according to the consensus between China and Africa. We will deepen our cooperation under the framework of the Belt and Road Initiative. We will align the Belt and Road Initiative with the 2063 Development Agenda in Africa, as well as the United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda 2030, and this will become the theme of this year's summit forums. All these stakeholders are very optimistic about the achievements we're going to realize in the upcoming summit forum. To my knowledge, maybe Minister Ning have more accurate data. I believe in this upcoming summit, we are going to sign more than 10 memorandums or cooperation agreements between China and African countries, and this will further enhance China's cooperation with African countries. The Belt and Road Initiative is a very important platform for China's cooperation with Africa. I believe there is even more and larger space for China's cooperation with Africa. For example, in a just concluded BRICS summit, President Xi Jinping met with many heads of state from African countries in Johannesburg, and President Xi Jinping has reached a wide range of consensus with many African counterparts. And one of the most important outcomes of the Johannesburg BRICS summit is to build a post-industrialization age partnership. And we believe through the implementation of a new industrialization partnership, we will help the African people to not just be able to self-suffice themselves, but also to help them quickly catch up with other developing and developed countries in terms of economic and industrial development. And African countries will benefit from the opportunities of technological development as well, so that against the very sophisticated international landscape for economic development, Africa will be empowered in its efforts in embracing all the opportunities. And tomorrow at 9 o'clock, we are going to invite Minister Qian again at this place, and you're welcome to come and ask more questions.
I just wanted to ask if we can expect to see China be more cautious in choosing Belt and Road projects or in providing funding for these projects.
路透社记者，现在基于很多国家的债务水平较高的情况下，中国是否会在选择“一带一路”的项目上更加谨慎？是否会更加谨慎地考虑如何对他们进行注资？
刚才我已经关于债务问题说了一遍，这个应该说是我们一直。
With respect to the debt issue, I have already expressed my point. We have always been very prudential in selecting projects. We follow the principle of joint and extensive consultation. China will consult with relevant countries to finalize some projects, and joint contribution means that we jointly build a project, and shared benefits means that we share the benefits of the projects. We have a very strict procedure to go through in making our decisions, and this may include your financial standing and its environmental impact of the project. And in the future, we also welcome some developed countries and international organizations to jointly come on board in our selection of major projects so that those projects can become truly sustainable. Now let's continue. I'm from China Daily, and my name is Zheng Xin, and my question goes to Minister Zhang. You just mentioned that China is advancing the high-quality growth, and maybe some of us are not quite aware of what is the definition of high quality and how this standard of high quality is reflected in our journey of Belt and Road Initiative. Thank you. This is a very important question, and this is also an issue discussed in the academia and also in industrial practitioners. And this is the question we frequently encounter in many of the seminars. As the one who proposed the Belt and Road Initiative, China domestically has also been promoting high-quality development. We are doing this domestically as well as internationally. We adhere to the principle of high quality both at home and abroad. High quality and high standard, they have actually been embedded throughout the whole process of the Belt and Road Initiative. Then what is high standard and high quality? We need to look at this issue from a very comprehensive perspective. To explain in brief terms, high standard and high quality means we have to transcend our conventional concept. I think the high standard and high quality is demonstrated in the following aspects. Number one, the Belt and Road Initiative is committed to promoting the economic growth of the whole world. As you know, the world economy is facing an insufficient momentum, and all the countries are having the bottleneck issue of infrastructure building. So to engage in the Belt and Road Initiative, we have to significantly enhance the connectivity between different countries and further improve the value chain, supply chain, and industrial chain of the whole world, so that those countries who are at a disadvantaged position, they can better get on board in this value chain and industrial chain, so that they can create more momentum for their own economic development and also make more contribution to world economic development. And this is what we have been saying, an open and inclusive economy, and this is the mission of building a shared destiny of all mankind. So this in itself is a very high standard and high quality, because this is in stark contrast with the protectionism and this is in stark contrast with the protectionism of some countries. And number two, today's world economy is facing the problem of imbalanced economic development. We are facing a development deficit and development imbalance. So how to solve this problem? Here domestically in China, we follow the principle of people-oriented. So under the Belt and Road Initiative, we also follow the principle of people-oriented. So we aim at improving people's living standards. We aim at bringing more benefits to the people, and that is why we have signed the Belt and Road Cooperation Agreement with the United Nations. The United Nations is a very important international body, and we wish to work together with this international body so that we can better serve the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda, so that we can protect globalization. A lot of people are against globalization because they don't think they have benefited from the trend of globalization. So that is why we are building a more balanced, more inclusive globalization so that everybody can take some benefit. So this in itself is high standard and high quality. And number three, it's reflected in the fact that we adhere to the regulations and laws and standards and market rules of relevant countries. We adhere to the compliance to those regulations and also to green development and the road of integrity. So we are actually on a road of Belt and Road that is sustainable, both from an environmental perspective and also from a financial aspect. And we are setting up the Green Development International Alliance, and we also have the advocates of the road of integrity. So we have also worked together with some countries in jointly formulating the Belt and Road guiding principles. And number four, it's reflected in the principles that we are adhering to, which is extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits. A lot of the countries, they are withdrawing from the globalization trend, from multilateralism, but China is adhering to the principle of joint consultation, extensive contribution, and shared benefits. So we hope that everybody can be part of this international cooperation. And this in itself is a very high and advanced concept. In order to enhance the guarantee from the mechanism perspective, we are setting up the Belt and Road Consulting Committees. And this committee will include some former heads of state, some scholars, and some experts, so that they can be included in this committee to provide us more and stronger intellectual support. Just yesterday, we have set up the International Business Disputes Settlement Committee, and this in itself is high standard and high quality. And number six, it's reflected in the fact that we strive for high-quality infrastructure projects. And if you are interested, you can go back and refer to the declaration in the Hangzhou summit. And one of them is that we aim at achieving high-quality interconnectivity. So we have to articulate this issue because the Belt and Road Initiative is mainly targeting developing countries, and so that we have to tailor this initiative to their national conditions and their national laws and regulations, and that is why we have put forward that the Belt and Road Initiative must be set at a reasonable price, and also it must be made sustainable, and it also must be made affordable. So this way, the Belt and Road Initiative is not some dream that you cannot touch, you cannot reach. So it's actually affordable, and it's actually sustainable and available if you take an interest. So we have a high standard, but at the same time, it's very down to earth, and it's built on a basis of substantial and tangible benefits and tangible projects. I hope I didn't go too long, and I hope that I have answered your question. Thank you. Now let's continue. The gentleman from the second row, please. I'm from Dagung newspaper from Hong Kong. At the very beginning, you said that some countries remain skeptical to the Belt and Road Initiative, and some of the foreign media have said that the Belt and Road Initiative has generated some debt crisis to relevant countries, and some of the projects have only added to the financial burden of relevant countries. So what is your comment on this report? So just now, Mr. Liang have said it very well, and you are following up with this question, and let me give you a different answer. And so first, the projects of Belt and Road Initiative have brought effective assets and value assets, and also have generated economic development and the improvement of people's livelihood. Quite on the contrary, it has not generated the trap of debt. Most of the projects, no matter it is about infrastructure or productivity cooperation, we have gone through a feasibility study period. All those projects have gone through a very strict loan approval process, and we are witnesses to this process, and we know how strict it is for you to get a loan from the bank. And if you are interested, you can come on board and witness how strict those rules are. And this approval features requirements about your financial standing, about the return on investment, or if you do not meet those standards, you will not get a loan, so that we do not formulate a loan that is larger than the value of the assets. Of course, there is sometimes an increase of the debt, but this only indicates the increase of your asset value. Some of the projects may take some period of time before recouping the investments, but eventually it will recoup the investments and also harvest a return or yield. To our knowledge, the debt crisis, as reported by some foreign media, is not quite relevant or related to reality. Some of the countries that those reports has covered, they are about countries who already had a very high level of debt before the Belt and Road Initiative. Some of the countries, they surely have a very large debt, but this is mainly due to their long-term borrowing from international organizations and from other countries. China is a latecomer. It's only a couple of years since our enterprises have gone abroad, so we are not the contributor of this country's debt. And second, for the projects China is jointly working together in, China has always attached great importance to debt management in terms of financing and investments under the framework of Belt and the Road, and China has always attached great importance to scientific management. We avoid bringing more debt to those countries, and we also very carefully guard against risks. And as we have mentioned, there is a very strict approval process before we made a decision. And after the loan is given, we have a long-term tracking of those projects. For example, China Development Bank has established a sovereign rating system, and we also have built up a quota management system, and the China Insurance Guarantee Commission has also built some relevant mechanisms to guard against risks. To develop the economy and improve people's livelihood, these are the primary goal of developing countries. For developing countries who truly need a loan, the Chinese banks, we can properly design our financing structure so that we can help those countries to sustainably manage their debt. For example, the project in Cambodia, and also the liquid natural gas in Russia. These two projects, they were supported by both loan and bank investments. So those two projects, they have demonstrated very good performance. So I think we should be very clear about what is happening, and you need to look at what is truly taking place. And also to answer the question from the journalist from Singapore about China-Pakistan economic belt. Over the past 4 years since CPEC was put forward, the project is well underway, and we are about to harvest the yield of this project. And in 2014, we have signed the long-term planning of China-Pakistan economic corridor. And altogether, we have 33 projects, and these include also some electricity transmission projects. And these projects have solved the energy issue and electricity supply issue that were troubling Pakistan for many years. And of course, the CPEC project includes transportation, industrial cooperation, and ports programs, and I won't list them one by one. The new leadership of Pakistan has clearly expressed that the CPEC is not just a project for any party or for any affiliation of party, and it's a project for the Pakistani people and for the whole Pakistan, and it will definitely become a very great success. And also the China-Malaysian railway project, as some of you have mentioned earlier. As you know, Mahathir just concluded his visit to China. He has clearly expressed his support to China's Belt and Road Initiative. He welcomes Chinese enterprises to expand their investments in Malaysia. He also mentioned that because of the financial difficulties Malaysia is facing, Mahathir is hoping that China can come on board and help solve some of the problems. And it was within this month. And I was in Beijing, and I also met with Mahathir, the new Prime Minister of Malaysia. I also visited Malaysia. And these projects, they are determined by the business contracts between relevant parties. Of course, there are some external criticisms or voices, and we are carefully solving those issues. The last three questions, please.
China is willing to address India's concerns over the CPEC, especially on the projects which are passing through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, because India says it violates its sovereignty.
我是印度报社记者，我想请问中方是否将解决印度在中巴经济走廊当中的关切？因为印方对于中巴经济走廊通过巴空克什米尔地区是存在关切的，因为这涉及到印方的主权问题。谢谢。
这个应该是，如果宁主任和蒋部长愿意回答，我可以让贤。
If Mr. Ning and Mr. Qian want to take the opportunity, I can give it to you. Let me share with you some points. India is a major neighbor of China. Both and China are emerging economies. We are both developing countries. Under the leadership of both leaders of the two countries, our bilateral and diplomatic relations have shown some new momentum, and we are entering into a new phase of development. And to just recap what happened since April this year, within the short span of 3 months, President Xi Jinping have met with Modi in Wuhan and in Qingdao of China, and also in Johannesburg. The two presidents have met 3 times and have reached wide range of consensus, and these have added new and strong momentum to our bilateral relations. The second point I want to make is that throughout history, India has been a major country along the ancient Silk Road. It is fair to say that India is a natural partner of the ancient Silk Road and also the maritime Silk Road. And because of the Silk Road connections, there has been a lot of legendary stories for diplomatic cooperation between our two countries. As emerging economies and developing countries, both China and India confront similar development tasks in the field of infrastructure building and also in the field of economic development. There is tremendous space and potential and needs for bilateral cooperation. And as a matter of fact, there is wide range of cooperations between our two countries in those areas. As you know, India is one of the founding members of the Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank. It's also the second largest shareholder of this AIIB. To the knowledge of one of my colleagues, roughly 20% of the programs invested by AIIB, they are located at India. The third point I want to make is that China has, for many times, reiterated that the CPEC program is merely for economic cooperation. This program does not change China's long-standing point in the Kashmir issue. The last 2 questions, due to time constraints, please. I'm from a China news agency. Some of the standpoints say that against the backdrop of rising protectionism globally, the Belt and Road Initiative may face some new problems. So how will China solve this problem? Thank you very much. In the next step, I believe the Ministry of Commerce will take 5 major measures to solve this problem. And first, we are going to do a great job in the first China Imports Exhibition Fair. As you know, China Imports Exhibition Fair is a project personally advocated by President Xi Jinping, and it's guided also by President Xi Jinping. So this is not just a common exhibition. This is an exhibition for imported goods. As you know, the Guangzhou Fair, that was for exported goods. And this one is for imported goods. And also the imports exhibition will be built into a platform for showcasing the trade and economic developments of various countries. And this will be a public product of all the countries supporting globalization, and this will become also a landmark project celebrating China's opening up and reform. The second aspect is that we are going to innovate the way we engage in economic and trade cooperation, and this will include 2 parts. Number 1, major projects. As Minister Ning has mentioned, along the Silk and Road border, we have a lot of significant projects, and we will continue to support those projects. And another area is the field of innovation. As you know, recent years in China in the field of e-commerce, cloud computing, big data, and artificial intelligence, China has made tremendous amount of innovation, and we want to build also a e-commerce Silk Road, and we want to bring those latest technology also to the Belt and Road Initiative. And the number 3 is that we will continue to build more platforms, and this will include the free trade zones and also the free trade harbor or port in Hainan province. And also this will include some external economic and trade cooperation zones. And number 4, we're going to further promote the regional economic integration. And we are willing to work together with relevant countries in building some high standard free trade zones. And eventually, we're going to form a giant market for the Belt and Road Initiative. And number 5, here domestically in China, we're going to implement some major measures advocated by President Xi Jinping in achieving further openness, and this will include the protection of IPR, the implementation of trade facilitation rules advocated by the World Trade Organization. So that is my brief answer to your question. The lady from the second row, please. Thank you. Good afternoon. After President Xi Jinping visited UAE, and what are the major plans between China and UAE and other Arabic countries in cultural cooperation? So let me answer this question. China and UAE, we have signed an agreement for strategic cooperation. UAE is the first country President Xi Jinping visited after the 13th National People's Congress. And this showcased the importance of our bilateral relations. So you are concerned about the cultural connections between UAE and China. So this is more than the economic cooperation between our two countries. So I can tell you that our cooperation with UAE is comprehensive. What I know more about is economic exchanges and connections. But UAE has a couple of provinces, for example, Dubai, Emirates, and Abu Dhabi is also one of the largest. And all the Emirates, they are having very close cooperation with China, and a lot of the Chinese have visited Dubai, and also in Abu Dhabi, the Khalifa port is playing a very significant role in maritime transportation between China and Arabic countries. And this port is currently under construction, and it's accelerating its pace, and this will be built into a major portal in the Middle East region, and also the productivity cooperation zone between China and UAE is currently under the guidance of the Development and Reform Commission of Jiangsu Province. And so far, all the corporations are well underway, and in terms of tourism and culture, I believe each and every year there are more than 1 million Chinese visiting the UAE. So I believe we are having a very close culture and people-to-people exchanges, and visa upon arrival is now possible for the Chinese visiting the UAE. And during Chinese festivals, there are a lot of Chinese travelers who just go to the UAE, and also in other fields. The UAE, as you know, combines a lot of the culture and elements from other civilizations, and I know the UAE is about to host the World Expo, and this will attract more Chinese and people from other regions to go to the UAE, so that we will truly realize the dream of interconnectivity, and this will cover facilities, infrastructure, ports, trade connections, industrial parks, capital exchanges. The UAE is having a very strong economy, and we are committed to drastically enhancing our cooperation. We are going to drastically enhance our investment in Africa and also in Middle East. Thank you very much. Any additional remarks? Minister Ning has said it very well, and President Xi Jinping visited the UAE in July this year, and he was welcomed by the people of UAE with great hospitality, and there are a lot of touching moments and pictures, and his visits have generated very wide range of achievements covering economic and trade and also culture. We have reached a lot of consensus, and the UAE has introduced the plan of embracing China, and this, I believe, is very important, and this is a very significant program under the framework of the Belt and Road Initiative, and this will further enhance the culture and people-to-people exchanges between China and the UAE. And the UAE is currently planning a China Culture Center, and all those projects, I believe, will enhance the China-UAE cooperation in many different fields. So you have been raising your hands throughout this press release, and let me quickly add more to your question. There is another area we can engage in serious cooperation, and that is in innovation. And we just visited the UAE, and we found out that the UAE has an innovation fund, and they have a 3D printing office, which was actually made by one of the Chinese enterprises. The UAE has a lot of brilliant ideas. China, we have a lot of universities and enterprises, and to my knowledge, the Huada Genetic Corporation is very interested in launching some cooperation. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is the end of today's release. Thank you to all the friends from the media. Thank you.